It should come as no surprise that the Fiat 500 has been one of the brand's most successful models in South Africa because it combines retro styling with good equipment levels and, of course, high value pricing. In fact, it is the car that has put Fiat back on the map here. But what about the larger, beefier 500X? Is it really a Fiat 500? Well, that depends on how lenient you want to be about family ties. The 500X might wear a Fiat badge, but its heritage is more reliant on the fact that these days Fiat owns Chrysler, and that Chrysler in turn is the custodian of the Jeep brand. That's important in this context because the 500X shares its underpinnings with a compact, chunky Jeep Renegade. So yes, the 500 and the 500X might come from the same group, but at best they are cousins twice removed, and it shows in the styling. If you look long and hard enough, you might see some resemblance between the cute 500 and its stockier, chunkier, bigger stablemate, the 500X. But despite the rounded contours, the pronounced shoulder line and also the short overhangs, mechanically there's very little in common between those two vehicles. Considering this Fiat's under-the-skin heritage, that's no surprise. At just short of 4.3 meters long, 1.8 meters wide and 1.6 meters tall, the 500X towers above its little namesake. However, it has to be said that the 500X looks more Fiat than Jeep. There really is nothing about the exterior that reminds one of the Renegade. The contoured shape, the rounded roofline, the ovoid headlights and taillights, and the sloping rear are in stark contrast to the angular upright appearance of the Jeep. The cabin of the 500X takes a leaf from the 500's book as far as its retro styling and good standard equipment levels are concerned, but it is also a lot more spacious and probably more comfortable. We'll have to find out, though, whether some of these plastic surfaces remain as smart over time. There's a certain retro charm to the interior that's very much 500, but some of the ergonomic details, such as the audio control buttons on the rear of the steering wheel spokes, are pure Jeep. There's also a strong sense of value thanks to an extensive list of standard specification, including a color touchscreen display for the comprehensive infotainment system, climate control, keyless entry and start, and more. As for space, there's more rear legroom than expected, and the 245-litre boot seems bigger than the figure indicates. Fold the split rear bench seat flat and you have 910 litres to play with. But does this Fiat crossover have enough brio? The 500X gets its urge from a modest but turbocharged 1.4-litre engine that's rated at 103 kilowatts of maximum power, linked to 230 newton-meters of torque. The gearbox, a 6-speed manual driving the front wheels only. The turbo engine is more willing than expected, so much so that you need to be gentle with the throttle in first and second to stop the front wheels from scrabbling for grip. Slightly taller first and second gear ratios might well have been a better option. A pleasant surprise is the inclusion of a drive mode selector, which offers a choice of 3 modes: Auto, which is supposed to find the best possible combination of traction, economy and response; Sport, which sharpens all the responses; and Agility, which vectors the torque between the two front wheels for optimum traction on compromised surfaces. In normal use, though, the Fiat feels unexpectedly frisky. The 500X is not supposed to be a performance car, but that doesn't mean it's slow or lazy. 0 to 100 is dispatched in just under 10 seconds, top speed a useful 190 kilometers an hour, and really the car does feel a lot brisker than expected. If you do want to head off the road, it has a nicely raised ground clearance as well. That taller stance may be useful in slightly rougher conditions, but the downside is a raised centre of gravity that becomes quite apparent in the twisties. Turn-in is a little ponderous, and the electric power steering blunts feedback. However, the ride is quite good given the relatively short wheelbase, and the Fiat always feels sure-footed even when pressing on. The elevated seating position is a real boon, be it in urban traffic or on the open road. There's a lot to be said for the current crop of small crossovers. They tend to be brisk, efficient and versatile. The 500X certainly is swifter and more responsive than we expected, and it has a lot of interior space as well, together with a decent list of standard specifications. Over the next 20,000 kilometers, we'll find out just how versatile it really is. Don't be fooled by the small engine capacity. The Fiat 500X has plenty of urge, and the manual gearbox makes it easy to use the drivetrain's full potential. The 500X always feels confident, and the raised ride height means it copes as easily with gravel as it does with speed humps. In short, it's a competent, versatile all-rounder, albeit a little left of centre.